Hello and welcome back to Paranormal NL Podcast, located in Newfoundland and Labrador, Canada. I'm your host, Jen Noseworthy. Thank you for tuning in to UPRN, United Public Radio Network, UPRNTalkRadio.com, 107.7 FM in Ireland, and 105.3 FM on that Gulf. Watch and listen to PNL Podcast every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern with a YouTube live chat watch party with yourself, me, Jen, your host, and a few BOG Team members. Now, for tonight's Call of the Sea episode on UPRN segment number 80, I've got a special guest waiting backstage from St. John's, Newfoundland, Canada, who I'll bring on shortly. Now, I hope everybody had a great Victoria Day holiday in Canada yesterday, but now it's time to grab your favorite summer beverage, a few mermaid munchies, and get ready for the show tonight. Paranormal NL Podcast is sponsored by the BOG Team. It's a boots-on-ground BOG team doing historical paranormal investigations in Newfoundland, Canada. If you find yourself coming back to the show and you like the content, smash that subscribe button. Gratitude, folks. It all helps. Now grab your PNL Podcast and BOG Team merch at TeePublic on our link tree, Paranormal NL Podcast. All BOG Team music heard in the intro and exit is available for download and use on all social media and streaming music platforms. PNL Podcast believes in supporting international paranormal networking and highlighting global paranormal people, places, and things. Now, let's get on with the show. I have to give a big shout out first to who introduced me or suggested tonight's guest, and that's Canadian veteran with the Royal Canadian Legion and dance instructor Jim Russell from Jolly Roger Enterprises. Now I'm going to bring on stage all the way from St. John's, Newfoundland. I've got Miss Amanda. Welcome, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thanks for being on the show tonight. Now, Amanda, tell the folks listening around the world on UPRN, United Public Radio Network, a little bit about yourself and how to pronounce your last name properly, because I didn't ask you backstage.
That's okay. So my name's Amanda Labonte. The Labonte is it's French. It's a French Canadian last name. I'm a writer and a publisher here in St. John's, Newfoundland. I have 8 books out right now. Always working on something else. And my first book, and that turned into a trilogy of books, is the Call of the Sea series, and that's specifically a mermaid trilogy set here in Newfoundland on the East Coast.
Thank you so much for being on the show tonight. You know, we don't have a whole lot of Newfoundland and Labrador guests. I did a lot of them in, I want to say, season 1 and 2. I almost had the entire MUN Department of Folklore on. And when I heard that you do some folklore, especially in your books, I was really intrigued, and I really wanted to have you on and give some more Canadian spirit here on the UPRN network. So I'm really glad to have you on. So how did it come about with you writing your trilogy books?
Yeah, so my first series, the idea kind of came from the region here, from Newfoundland, and specifically the Cape Shore area, which is it's really dominated by like an Irish kind of cultural background, and that's where my mother's family comes from. And we spent a lot of time out there in the summers, and you just have these like beautiful beaches and cliffs, and it kind of lended itself to this like mystical kind of,
yes, it's
kind of
very
mermaid.
Inspiring place, isn't it? You know,
It's
there's
beautiful.
so many different artists and people who, when they first come here and visit, they really want to come back, and it inspires them to write music and do art and literature. I mean, think of all the different people who we've had here on the island who were inspired. I guess Maud comes to mind for me for that movie, and so many other areas, especially out around the bay, shall we say. And when you come to the sea, no matter where you go, because, I went down to the U.S. for like 25 years, but every Newfoundlander always comes back home.
It's true. I think the ocean kind of draws you back. And that was definitely a big part of my inspiration.
Yes.
And for writing this book, a lot of it came from kind of just the history of the area, and just spending time out there, and growing up, kind of going back and forth to that region, and just drawing on kind of like family stories and family lore, and not necessarily mermaids, but there's a lot of just references to lore and myth that kind of comes from that area. That's kind of, I think it's like a little preserved kind of part of a history. From
it's kind of like time. In every Newfoundlander's DNA, right?
Yeah.
The sea is, a bit of salt is in us, right? No matter if you eat salt beef jigs dinner or not, you got a bit of salt in you if you're from Newfoundland and Labrador. The sea drives you back. But now, which one of these ones do you think sparked, I guess, the biggest interest for? Do you find a certain audience for these books that the trilogy you've written?
Yeah, definitely. I think the other books I've written don't necessarily tie to Newfoundland specifically, but these three, because of that link to Newfoundland, sort of, it draws on like a Newfoundland reader, but also like a genre reader. So I would say that's probably the book that I'm like most I sell the most, and that people talk to me about the most.
Do they talk to you about selkies? Because we hear people talk about that, and I don't know if you want to mention that or talk about some of the folklore that's in your books, or
so I haven't heard selkie specifically, but when I was researching the book, one of the things that was so interesting to me, and I kind of played into a lot more of like the Celtic lore, because that's kind of the region that speaks to the region. But one of the interesting things about mermaids when I was doing my research is that there's mermaid tales. Like, there's a concept of mermaids almost everywhere in the world. Everybody has like some sort of there's like African, Asian, like there's some sort of belief system there about like mermaids, what they look like what them being sighted by sailors or that kind of thing. So I found that really interesting when I was doing research, just how known think of the mermaid, you think of the Little Mermaid or that kind of thing, but like it's around the world.
They always talk about the siren, right?
Yes,
the one that looks so beautiful and, you look down at her, or, the men, because you weren't allowed to have a woman on board. That was very bad luck, right? Because the men would be looking at the woman instead of working. So if they saw a Selkie or heard, the siren calling out to them, it would lure them down. But then when they went and looked over the side, she would pull you over because she was, it turned into something quite different, like an evil one, right? What do you think about that?
Well, the myths I came across for Selkies were really interesting too, because there's this one story I read of a man who had married a woman, and she turned out to have been a Selkie, and he hadn't realized it, and she just sort of disappeared. And I did take that kind of just fable story and work it in a way into my book. I had like a family figure that had kind of just like disappeared, like a grandmother had just sort of like been around and then just sort of disappeared without really any trace. So she wasn't a Selkie, but she was a mermaid. But just the idea of you can draw on so many threads with
like when I was a kid
stories.
Growing up in the 80s, it makes me think about the movie Splash.
Yes.
With Tom Hanks, that's iconic movie when it comes to mermaids.
I loved that movie,
Yeah, and there's a bunch of other like different spin-offs and stuff I guess you'll see on Netflix and other places. And of course the cartoon, Ariel, who could not talk about her, and all the, the crowd, the cartoons who were in there. But in Newfoundland and Labrador, we have quite the few statues of mermaids and stuff around, don't we?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There was there was a whole summer of just mermaid statues all over the city one year. And I was asked if that was the inspiration, and it wasn't specifically. It was cool to see the mermaids everywhere. I think the Chocolate Factory still has one of them. Newfoundland Chocolate Factory here. Yeah. So
many different coastal cities that I've been to, like in South Texas on St. Patrick Island, they had like a huge number of mermaid statues there. So it seems like all the coastal towns that I ever visited when I was doing like travel nursing across up and down the US, everybody had some sort of mermaid theme going on. Like you'd mentioned, right? It seems like all over the world, any kind of coastal place, there's mermaids involved. So I wonder, is there something to it, right?
Yeah, definitely. When I was doing, I did a writing course when I was working on this book, the first one especially, because I hadn't written like a full book before. And even in that, my instructor had been, Paul Butler had been writing historical fiction. And even he had like, within that had come across just stories of like sailors, like having seen something and thinking, what did they see? Was it a mermaid? And just going through old journals and that sort of thing. And it's, the stories are definitely, they're everywhere. Yeah.
Lots of folklore. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Now you've got another series, Supernatural Causes. Did you want to talk about that one?
Yeah, sure. So fun thing about this series, the cover, the girl on the cover is actually my sister. It's a stylized photo of her taken a couple of years back. I asked
maybe you've got one there you can hold up closer.
Because
I see you've got books in the background. I don't know if you've got that one there.
Yeah, I did just in case. So she's that's my
there
sister
you go.
Heather.
Look at that. Okay.
Yeah. Because I wanted I kind of had a look. I was kind of thinking of going for, and it's going to be a series. There's 2 books in it so far. So that was a really fun book to write. I had written Call of the Sea. I had it out to publishers. I was kind of in the process of just kind of like waiting and to do like a round of edits. And I had this, I was online friends with another writer who she happened to be a nurse, and she was writing a book about, she was writing a book called The Night Shift. And because she was a nurse, I had this idea that she was writing about like a supernatural hospital. And it wasn't. The book's called Night Shift. It's great, but it's about like strange things that happen on the night shift in a department store. But once I got the idea in my head, like it wouldn't go away. And so then I just kind of was thinking, well, who would work?
Do you know, Amanda, that's what sparked me to do Paranormal NL podcast.
Really?
All the weirdness that I've seen throughout my nursing career. Yeah, unexplained supernatural stuff. And so I'm not the only healthcare worker who's experienced it,
Well, I have 2 aunts who are nurses, and one of them used to talk about when you work like a full moon shift, Like
Oh,
you
yeah.
can tell it's the full moon is out. So like
Yes.
chapter 1 it's set Supernatural Hospital. It's set on a full moon. It's vampires, werewolves are at it, and
Yeah.
you know,
Strap on your roller skates for that.
Yeah.
night.
So it was that was a lot of fun to write. And that was
Fun.
sort of it more paranormal, like more drawing on like vampire lore and werewolf and witches and that kind of thing. And it was just a fun little break between my mermaid
we've
books.
got a lot of that here in Newfoundland and Labrador too. You know, a lot of folks talk about the Wendigo and say, well, you know, is it some sort of elemental or what could it be? You know, is it a vampire? What is it? Right?
Yeah, and I grew up with a lot of like fairy like culture and fairy lore. Like my out on the Cape Shore, my great grandmother used to leave bread out like on her doorstep for the fairies, and those kinds of tales. So even though I'm not quite writing about like fairies specifically, like some of the you grow up in kind of that environment, you kind of
that's a real popular thing. A lot of people do that when they go out in the woods. You got to have a bit of bread in your pocket so the fae won't carry you away, right?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Now other people put other stuff in their pockets, like a bit of iron ore or stuff like that. They say that keeps them away. To keep them away. Yeah. And if you think about it, cemeteries are lined with what? Gates that are what? Iron. Right? Yep. And, you know, we've tried different stuff like that at investigations, and it's held them in the room, and it won't come out of the room if you put it over the door. So some people put a horseshoe over the front of their house, right? A lot of people do that for good luck. What is that made out of? Most of the time, it's iron, right?
It's iron. Yeah.
So it makes you wonder. Now, you've got a couple other books. I think this one is a Princess of Premonition.
Yeah, so these are so this is it's another trilogy. It's just a little different because each of these 3 books follows like a different lead character, but in the same world at the same time. So like one kind of flows into the next.
Daughters of Aether, is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, just a weird spelling for ether. The it's steampunk inspired, kind of alternate history. Okay. Yeah, just sort of what would happen if historical events had played out differently, and you know, airships and that kind of thing. But there's a little bit of a supernatural. Well, I mean, there's a supernatural element because it's an alternate history, but also just within the ether kind of element in that world. Yeah,
like the steampunk and the Victorian era seems to be a very popular theme with the paranormal realm, shall we say? Yeah. And I think you're publishing with, is it Engen?
Not right now. So these books are.
I'll take them off.
That's okay. So these books are. I'm self-publishing these books now. My very first book, I did work with a publisher, and it was a lot of fun. They were called Fierce Inc. And they were Halifax based, and when they went under, which a lot of publishing companies do, they ended up just giving our rights back. So, and I did sort of dabble in having publishers after that, but a lot of the time I just liked, I got a big network of authors who self-publish around me, and I just really liked having like full control over kind of what I was doing.
Yeah, that's the thing about writing. You know, there's a lot of stuff involved with it. You don't realize like there's the publisher, you know, and then there's the rights and things like that. Yeah. So a lot of different things go into it, you know. But then you have some other authors who use AI to write. I don't know about like what your opinion is on that.
I mean, I think there's room for using like a tool to kind of help you form something. I think I don't personally use like generative AI, like where it would write a story for me.
Agreed. I liked it. I like it when it comes out of your brain instead of
and a lot of times too that technology has been trained on somebody else's work, like they've been fed other people's books, and I don't want to take something that somebody else, you know, poured all
and I love that you're putting the Newfoundland culture and the folklore into it, you know, and you can't not do it because you're a Newfoundlander, right? And
definitely.
So you're a very creative person. You've also got the creative learning on the go. Do you want to talk a little bit about this?
So it's a business that I my mom and my sister actually helped start like 20 years ago now, I think. My mom was a stay-at-home mom for a long time. She went back to university actually while my sister was in university, and they were there together.
Okay.
And when she graduated, this is what she started. She sort of took all of these skills she'd had as like a stay-at-home mom and channeled it into starting a business that it does an after-school program to kind of help kids and families with get through their homework, get some like enrichment learning, that kind of thing. And then this is like the preschool program there, and to get kids ready for school.
That's
once upon a time,
thing.
kindergarten was half a day here, and we used to do the other half the day of the kindergarten, so kids could kind of have the full day kind of covered. But it was a lot of fun.
Well, that's great that you're doing that. I mean, there's so many people looking for different programs like that.
Yeah.
I've got another one I can pull up. And if folks want to get into that, I guess how do they do that?
Yeah, they can I think our Facebook page is probably our best place to find information. We're located in like Mount Pearl, Newfoundland. If you go to the creative learning program, because it's the stands for like tutoring, homework, enrichment. That's why there's a the in front of it with the capital letters. But we're pretty active there on Facebook.
Yeah, because it's T.H.E.
Yeah.
Now, what else have I got here? I think that let's see. Oh, yes. I wanted to ask you about these. I love these mugs and stuff. Like, do you go to like Sci-Fi on the Rock and places like that, to all the different markets and stuff around?
I go. I'm going to be at Sci-Fi on the Rock this year.
Nice. Okay.
And it's a lot of fun. I do
big shout out to Darren Hain and Sci-Fi on the Rock.
And Avalon Expo. I do their expos too, and I've done. So they're in St. John's. I've done the Atlanticon, which is out in Corner Brook, and have had a lot of fun out there. Hoping to get to other places in the country coming up too in the future. Yeah, but there's all kinds of you can do all kinds of things to go with your books.
Fun. Yeah, I like that one because you can stick it in your car, right?
Yeah.
Now, isn't it nice when you go out to the bookstore and you walk along and then you see this, right?
Yes. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So what bookstores are you at here in Newfoundland and Labrador?
So I was really lucky with with this Call of the Sea book. When that first came out, this is the first edition, and that was actually like all over the country. I think that picture might have been taken. One of the pictures I got online, they were taken in like the Eaton Center in Toronto. Like they just had it all over the place, and that was a lot of fun. But here in Newfoundland, you can get it in bookstores on the island. I'm also on Amazon. Yeah.
On Amazon, okay.
Yeah. And it's ebook on Amazon as well.
And
a lot of people
ebooks on Amazon.
Ebook. Yeah.
Do you ever do like readings and stuff at the libraries and that?
I have, yeah, and I hadn't done much before. That's an Avalon Expo. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I hadn't done much since COVID, but then I sort of got out of the habit of going out and doing things. But then I kind of did a reading with the self-published NL before Christmas, and that was really fun. And I got to meet lots of people who are writing books here. And I met actually, it was really funny. I met a guy who had written a book, and he read from it, and then he was writing like he was writing a book actually about a vampire hotel, which I thought was really interesting. And so and I write about vampires, so we started chatting after, and I had mentioned when I got up to read that like I had written Call of the Sea, and it was set on the Cape Shore, and he was said like, you know, I've got family on the Cape Shore, and I was like, you know, my whole family is from the Cape Shore, and then we realized we must be related because we have like people in common. So you can't go to anything in Newfoundland without learning.
Tell me a little bit more about your vampire stuff in your book. Here's one of the ones that you'd mentioned before with the nurse.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's the cover before I got my sister on the cover. But this is and I originally tried to write this as like a serial, so like I did it in 4 parts, and it was a lot of fun. But but then as I've gone on, I've just kind of amalgamated everything into one big book. But so the nurse in the books is a university student who's just kind of hoping to get into med school, and her part-time job is working at that's my friend Kate, working at a hospital in a vampire hospital at night, kind of helping out there. And in the world that I've written in, normal humans can't see supernaturals. Like they can get they can see if something is weird is happening, but they don't sense that someone's like a vampire or werewolf, and they just don't believe in it. But this girl who is the main character, she can see them and sense them, and she's kind of, because of that, kind of drawn to their world. And so she works in the hospital, and her supervisor is a werewolf, and she gets tangled up in a vampire epidemic.
Supervisor's a werewolf.
Yeah. And so the mystery throughout the book is there's a virus that's attacking vampires, and she's trying to, and it's taking away their vampireness. It's kind of bringing them back to being like humans, but in a very like old sort of, decrepit kind of way. And they're trying to hold on to their vampire essence. And that's what she's doing throughout the book, is trying to help them.
I love that. Yeah, there's not a whole lot of writers who talk a lot about vampires. In fact, here in Newfoundland and Labrador, I haven't gotten a whole lot of folks talking about it, and there is a big appetite for it. In fact, I'm having another author come on soon, but he's from the U.S. He's going to be talking a bit about them. But Newfoundland.
Yeah, my friend Kate has a series. Actually, it's under her pen name, I think. Tanith Frost is the series name, and it's a whole vampire series that takes place in like downtown St. John's.
Oh, really?
And it's great. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Now, you might even find some of those in the little free libraries around Newfoundland and Labrador. Some of Amanda's books, or even some other local authors' books. Do you ever go and rummage around in some of these?
I always peek in to see if I know anybody whose stuff is in there. And sometimes I've like stuck one of my books, like just to donate like a book.
Oh my God, that would be so awesome for somebody to find a signed copy of one of your books in their library. Now, most of the libraries right now are up because it's winter and nobody wants to shovel out their library every day because we've been getting so much snow. But now here we're pre-recording, so in May, you'll see a lot of these popping up in the summer for sure. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what got me inspired a lot with some of these books and authors. And so if somebody wants to make a library, a little free library, just go to littlefreelibraries.org and they'll show you how to do it. But
they're great. I think I see kids going past and they love looking, like peeking in and seeing what's in there. It really, it's a great community service.
Now, earlier at the top of the show, I gave a shout out to Jim. I found his picture here. I want to throw it up here. Jolly Roger, there he is, the man, the myth, the legend. And he also goes around. He's dressed up here, I think, for a wedding show. He models tuxes at different wedding shows, too. And I think he also teaches, a lot of folks. Well, he even taught myself and my husband for our wedding dance. So big shout out to Jim Russell. Follow him at Jolly Rogers, and thank you for your service, Jim. Yeah. Now, you used to do a little bit of dance, didn't you?
I did a long time ago. Well, a little bit ago. I did. My sister and I we danced as kids, and then we both took belly dance lessons for a long time. I've done some Irish dancing and some.
I have to put this
flamenco.
Because this picture I found is so beautiful. Is this you?
That's my sister. That's my sister. She's
just like you.
Thank you, because I think that's a gorgeous picture of her, and that's a big compliment. Yeah, yes, that's why she's still dancing. Actually, she's still actively dancing. She's living in the States, and she dances still, and she does. But she also is a pretty good model. That's why I got her for the cover.
Us Newfoundlanders loves a good jig, don't we?
Yes.
And especially at the mummers time. Now, do you ever put any mummer stuff in your books?
Actually, it's funny. I haven't, but so I as a publisher, a friend and I started a company called Afterbooks, and that company is specifically interested in publishing books that have like a Newfoundland setting, or some. There's a lot of Newfoundland history books that we put out, but we did our first fiction book for Christmas, and it was called Home for Christmas, and it's for novellas that take place in Newfoundland. Actually, do I have that? I might have a copy here. And they are the last story is actually like a mummer story, and it's like,
oh, nice.
Yeah.
And that, of course, that picture is one of the iconic Jelly Bean Row. Now, people say, now, what street is Jelly Bean Row on? Now, do you want to explain to them, Amanda, what that means?
I mean, it's lots of them.
It's right. It could be any street, especially downtown, right? You get the tourists all confused, right? Because, you know, the streets downtown are not the typical square streets. They're all in a big circle and a big mess. And then you had tourists completely confused, right?
Definitely. And colors can change up sometimes. And, you know, they could be anywhere.
Yeah. If they can figure out our towny accents and and hear a couple yarns, well, yeah, they got it made. We got lots of yarns to tell them, don't we?
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
What's your favorite one? Do you want to tell us a yarn, Amanda?
I mean, a lot of my favorites are kind of family stories, and like from growing up. But this one's not my story, but I heard it repeatedly growing up. So when my mother was little, living out on the Cape Shore, she was the first oldest of 6, and before any of her siblings were born, she was, I think, she'd let like not even 3 when her first sibling was born. So this before any of them were born. My nan and my grandfather both tell the story of them being at their home, and the community they lived in is still there. It's called Angels Cove. They were in their house, and my mom was in the front yard playing, and then as kids do, and it was a busy time. Like, you didn't have electricity like running through along the houses. You didn't have like running water the same way. It's not that it was that long ago. It was a really isolated area. So families were busy. People were busy. My nan turned her back, and my mom was gone. And they looked around the house, and they walked around. She's not that old. How far can she get? There's nowhere to go. There's no cars coming down the road. Like, no strangers in the community. All your neighbors. Anyway, you kept looking, and then my nan got panicked, and get the rest of the community out, and eventually, there was a woman in the community who was older, who even she came out looking for this toddler who had gone. And my grandparents swear she was gone for about an hour. And then everyone in the community was looking, and she just walked out of the woods after an hour in an area that they had been searching, and the fairies took her.
I was just going to say, I was waiting for you to say it. I didn't want to say nothing. I was waiting. Did the fairy take her? She didn't have no bread on her. Right?
She didn't, and they did. She jokes that it was, it was probably like that story, The Ransom of Red Chief. They brought her back because she was too much trouble. but that's what they swear, because both my grandparents and all the people who were there that day swear they looked in all those areas. They scoured the whole area she could have been in.
When you were a kid and you went out around the bay and then you went exploring, right? You either went in the woods, or more than likely, if there was a house, usually that house had its own private beach or something. So you always end up down by the beach somewhere. And of course, your parents would be freaking out because you're like, oh no, she's down by the beach again. Right? the tide is coming in, right? Because we used to do that. We would wait for the tide to go out. And then we go picking like periwinkles and looking at all the starfish and, looking for mermaids, right? When you were at that age.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, and we'd always pick up we used to call them pricklies. We'd get a bucket, and we'd get the little minnows, the fish, right, in the bucket. Yeah, did you do that too when you went to the beach? Yeah, and then, definitely. When you got older, then you went running after the capelin, when the capelin started rolling.
Yes.
Do you want to talk about that to the folks listening around the world who don't really know what that is?
It's the funniest thing. It's because we also talk about capelin weather, like in the spring, like going into summer, you have you could be having like gorgeous weather, and then you'll just get like this turn, and it gets foggy, it gets cold again, and it's it's the capelin season, and it just always happens. And then the capelin start rolling in, and you can kind of we used to go to Middle Cove Beach out not far from town, and you could see like the line of them from the beach, like you could see like the shadow in the water of just like the capelin like rolling in. And you'd be down on the beach, people be down trying to.
And it could happen in a split second like that. You could be on the beach, and then all of a sudden, the caplin's here, and then everybody's scrambling.
And then the beach is full.
Yes,
full, like
some people don't have a bucket, so they're like, "Here, quick, use an onion bag and tie it on a rope, or tie it on a stick."
So my grandfather used to, because my grandparents moved to town when my mom was young, but my grandfather had been a fisherman, and he had a big net, like with a
cast net.
But he had like with a stick, he could like control it, but it was a big net on the end, and he would go and just like swoop it and then like dump out fish for other people like to fill their buckets. And I remember being like so small that I could like hold on to the pole of the net and kind of like go with him, like to catch the.
A lot of the tourists, like they love catching them, but then people say, "Well, what do you do with them?" Yeah. Well, a lot of people would smoke them and eat them whole. Some people would use them for bait because some of the fishermen, right?
Yeah.
But I remember as a kid eating whole capelin that were smoked, and come to think of it sounds kind of gross, right? Because the guts and everything are in it. Like, ew, right?
I remember like my grandmother like cutting the heads off and then like cooking them, like frying them.
Frying them? Okay.
Yeah, but like not like I think I was more interested in catching them than eating.
Right. Them. Yes.
Definitely.
I remember that part as a kid for sure, catching them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's for sure. Now, let's see here. I'll move to another one of your books here. So we talked about book one, and did we talk? Yeah. I know you talked a little bit about Drawn to the Tides. Now, there's a picture of a guy with a guitar.
Yes.
There's some music involved in this one?
Yeah, so the premise with these books, there's mermaids. But the point of view characters is actually the main one is it's a teenage boy who he's the one who kind of encounters the mermaid and meets the mermaid and that sort of thing. But he hears a singing voice, and he can kind of
like Ariel, right? That she used to sing.
And he was musical, so he can kind of like channel the hear like kind of almost like tuning a radio. He's got like a gift for music, and he has a twin brother who also is involved in the story, and he's very artistic, so he can kind of they're twins, and they each were born with like a gift.
Do they get the girl though?
I eventually wouldn't be. You
don't want to give away the story, right?
but there's a guy and a girl on the third cover. So
I was just going to say, it looks like you might have got the girl, and she probably looks like she grew a bit of legs there.
So when you're writing, mythology, one of the things you sort of do is you sort of pick and choose kind of what your like my mermaids are probably nothing like, if somebody else sat down and wrote a mermaid, we'd all pick different aspects of mermaid culture. I kind of, going back, I love the movie Splash. I was like, that mermaid came on land. Ariel came on land. My mermaid can come on land.
I think at the end of that movie, he went with her underwater.
I think so.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he kind of grew a fin or something like that. Now, did you want to talk about our merbuys that we got here?
I do have I had their calendar back in the, I don't think they've made one recently, but.
You have the calendar?
I do.
Oh my God, go get it. I want to, I haven't seen it.
I'll take it out. But I'm pretty sure.
I'll wait for you. I'm going to pull up another picture while you're gone to get it.
I don't know where it went.
Oh no. Oh gosh. Yeah. What she's looking for is a calendar of a bunch of men
probably find it there
in Newfoundland and Labrador who made a calendar, and I think they all had mermaid tails.
Yes. But they also had beards and here we go.
Oh, are you pulling it up? You can present it if you want, if you pull it up, and then I can throw it on stage.
How would I?
So have you ever had any weird encounters with the water besides, writing your books and whatnot? But have you ever had any Newfoundland experiences with the water that you couldn't explain, or not even just the water, any supernatural or paranormal or UFO or cryptid encounters?
I was thinking about this because I listened to some of your other shows, and like if I was asked about it, and I think for me, one of the things that I sort of grew up with were dreams and premonitions.
Okay, because I noticed you wrote a book about premonitions. I was going to ask you about that. Yeah. Okay.
So that was kind of a dreams, and like a lot of Newfoundlanders, like
precogs
is in my family. Like that, the dream that kind of.
Did you say the hag?
Yeah, the old hag.
Yes, a lot of folks have that. Yeah,
that's been in my family too, and I don't have that, but we would call any, like growing up, any dream that where you had that like paralysis, where you
sleep paralysis.
Yeah, that was what like you would refer to as the old hag. So like my grandfather definitely, like he would talk about like the witch in his dream, like the old hag. But my mother would refer to having the old hag as like just like almost like it was a nagging dream that you couldn't kind of shake.
Okay, like a recurring dream.
Yes, and sometimes it was for me, the dreams would be like I'd have an awareness of everything around me. Like I would even see myself sleeping.
Out of body kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like astral projection kind of thing. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But it was funny for my sister and I, we would see like a male and not like a witch, like watching us kind of.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Kind of like Hat Man. Did he have a hat on?
He did. And it was like, I didn't even realize that was like a thing that was, that like other people had.
It's an international thing.
I know.
So it is. Yeah.
It's like a fedora, but
yes. Yeah.
And but so I just took that for granted that like, because
so he just kind of stood there
talked about dreams. Yeah. And just kind of was like, and then, for most members of my family who talk about this, like lights kind of can bring you out of it. So if someone turns on a light, if you're in the complete dark is kind of when it happens. Like I've not experienced it.
They do say
in a light
on
room.
Spirit Box, we like the dark. And there's some truth to it. It's easier for them to move around in the shadows, right?
Yeah.
So not only when you turn the lights on from a biological standpoint, it does wake you up. And there's scientific proof that says if there's lights in the room and you're trying to get to sleep, you're not going to be as successful.
Yeah.
And it will wake you up. So that does hold some truth.
Yeah. Like my grandfather used to, like when he particularly like being plagued, I remember being out at the cabin and him like waking up and turning on a kerosene lamp in the kitchen and kind of like leaving his door open. So
okay,
if he was particularly plagued by a dream.
Why would he open the door now?
So the light could come in.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So it wouldn't be like keeping him awake, but it would be like there'd be a light on in the house.
Yeah.
And my great grandmother used to tell us if we wanted to not have the old hag, you would, when you were going to fall asleep, make the sign of the cross on the roof of your mouth with your tongue.
Okay. Now that's a new one. I haven't heard that
one. That's what she used to swear by. She was like, if you do that, you won't get it if you. Yeah, but we're raised very Catholic, so
okay, yeah, that's a good one to try. Everybody, anybody who got the hag or sleep paralysis, try that.
Yeah.
Draw on the roof of your mouth, cross with your tongue. See if it works tonight. Now, make sure you don't get it in the morning. Now, have you ever seen orbs or anything like that around your house? Or
I haven't. No, and but I also don't really like the. You
don't look for them. Most people don't look for them.
And I kind of believe in stuff, so I don't necessarily want to experience it. Like,
right? Yeah,
I don't really. I believe in it, and I believe people when they say they see them. And my mother talks openly about like her experiences, but I was just like, I don't.
Okay, so your mom believes. Your mom's a believer. Okay.
Yeah.
Have you had any reoccurring dreams yourself?
Not since I was little. When I was little, I used to have like kind of like the dreams of like a shadow kind of watching me, but I haven't.
How about precogs? Have you had any of them, or premonition of dreaming something and then the next day it happens?
No, but my mom would talk about like having like a particular, and I can't remember what exactly it was, but it was like a particular dream that if she dreamt it, like someone would pass, and she would sort of kind of be prepared for that. And I think it was like it was always the same person dying in her dream, but that person was never the person who was going to die. But she knew if she had a dream that this person died, somebody connected to her would.
Okay. Yeah, because certain families who, shall we say, believe or are gifted. Yeah. Everybody is gifted, whether they know it or not, but some families embrace it more than others. It's still very taboo topic, the paranormal.
Yeah, not everybody wants to kind of like talk openly about their experiences.
Well, especially here in Newfoundland and Labrador, because it's a very small island. And, I know who she is and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, let's talk about it. Let's get it out there.
But
that's another reason why I started Paranormal NL.
Make it normal. Yeah.
I want to say, well, then to make it normal.
Make the paranormal normal.
Oh, how many women do you hear talking about it?
Yeah.
Not many, right? Most of the majority of podcasters who talk about the paranormal are male. It's a male-dominated culture. So let's get some female estrogen in there. Let's talk about it. What are you experiencing? So it's good to talk about it. It's and it also helps you try to figure out what the heck happened. If you did experience something yourself. So
yeah, we the other thing in my family that we really kind of and it's happened to me too. When sometimes if a picture falls off the wall for no reason, that's usually a sign that something's going to happen, and it usually
it's funny you mentioned that, because yesterday was Victoria Day. We had this picture in our family of Queen Victoria, very, very old picture. They used to keep falling off the wall at certain times. Right. And my parents would talk about this. So yeah, you're right. It's strange. Certain families have different things.
Yeah.
Right?
When we would know, when a picture just kind of falls off the wall for no reason, it's sort of like something's going to happen.
Yep. Yeah. And, you mentioned the hag and the witch and whatnot. Have you ever been or heard about the Wind Gap witch down in Flat Rock?
I don't think so.
Yeah. I wonder if you drove down around that area, what kind of sensations would you feel? Because some people do sense and do feel things. And if you bust out your spirit box, she'll talk to you. Try it sometime. Guaranteed. Yeah, she'll talk to you.
Wow.
If you know how to use that kind of stuff, or if you believe. A lot of people don't believe it, but then they get surprised because they get some solid evidence and they're like, okay, yeah, that just happened. Yep. There's a lot of folklore around Newfoundland and Labrador. There's so many different stories and so much folklore. We already talked about the Fae, we talked about mermaids, but there's so many other ones. And you can listen to a lot of them. Like I said, in season one was mostly radio, because I didn't join or start doing StreamYard video until season 3.
Oh, wow.
Up into the high 100 episodes there. And then I joined UPRN again in season 3. But yeah, if you want to hear a lot of the Newfoundland and Labrador folklore, go all the way back to season 1, listen to some of the radio stuff. You'll really enjoy it, especially from people like Dale Jarvis. Like, he's the king of folklore here.
I've done it to
him. He's amazing.
Yeah.
And everybody at the
Monday. I couldn't sleep after I did it.
Now, for the people listening, Amanda, if they want to find your books and find your work and stuff, I know you touched on it a little bit on where they could find you. Do you want to give a shout out again to your work and where they can find it?
I think the best, easiest place to find everything is on Amazon. I'm on there. My name's Amanda Labonte. All my books are linked under me as an author, so you can see all the mermaids and vampires and steampunk is all there together.
Now, I've also got your link tree pulled up on the crawler on the bottom of the screen there, so you can also check that out.
Cool.
And you never know, you might also see Amanda on the link tree with the International Paranormal Alliance. You never know. So, Amanda, thank you so much for coming on PNL Podcast today with UPRN, United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM in New Orleans and 105.3 FM on that Gulf. So let's see, what kind of music do you want to end out with? Do you want some dance music or 80s or rock or?
Ooh, let's do some dance music.
Dance music, yeah, let's do it. Well, thanks again, Amanda, for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Everybody, check out Amanda, follow her, and also follow her honey on MTV. Gotta give a shout out. All right, here's some BOG Team dance music.